Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining me today on this webinar. This webinar is called How to Sell Video Walls. We are taking a look at video walls in a different way. We're looking at the money left on the table that video walls may be able to allow integrators to scoop up. My name is Tom Devine. I'm with AVPro Edge. I have a great guest with me here. Jason, how you doing?
Hey Tom, how you doing? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, doing so good, so good. So this is Jason. He's from Meridio. He's going to be our, our display specialist. He knows all the nuts and bolts, the technical information. You guys have all seen him before from all of our other stuff. He is now transitioned into being that full Meridio guy. He kicked AVPro Edge to the curb. I don't get to see him as much. I have to say hi, Jason, from all across the
It's really
Meridio.
sad.
No, but it's great to have you on today, Jason. So
yeah, thank you.
Are you ready to talk about video walls?
Yeah, it's a great subject. It's something that's kind of near and dear to my heart. I've always kind of lusted over having a video wall in my house for years now, but it's always so expensive. And I think nowadays there's a lot better solutions. And I'm just waiting for that right person to bite on like a 2x2 video wall with 4 77-inch OLEDs or something. And now that Sony has the 83-inch out, we could do something even really crazy, do like 9 83-inch TVs. Imagine what kind of video wall that would make in a theater system. It would be super cool. So yeah, let's get into it. Let's talk about why video walls today are so much easier and better to manage and to purchase nowadays versus even a few years ago.
Exactly. And we've all seen video walls, right? I mean, even back to the day where you would have like some evil layer in a movie and behind the bad guy is a bunch of CRTs lined up, and as a little kid, you're like, wow, that's so cool. And then security systems had all the big places, and the command centers for broadcast have all those places. Well, now we've brought in technology all the way so like we can have that in our home times 50 with way better resolution and much smaller bezels. And but what ends up happening is every integrator is used to talking about what they normally do and how I always put a big nice OLED here. I love these projectors, and we're talking today is how technology and display technology is changing. So are video walls, and that we're going to talk about today is how to sell video walls, why you need to sell video walls. So let's get right into it. Before I do want to say, if you're watching this on YouTube, just put your questions directly below in the comments. We'll answer them right away. If you're watching this on GoToWebinar live, thank you so much for joining us live. You have a questions tab. We will field those questions. If it's a good one, Jason will just pop right up in the presentation, and we can present it to everybody, so everybody can be on the same page, getting that information as you ask it. If you can see, I have a handout that we're going to get to later, so you can open that and check it out now, but it's going to talk a little bit about video wall control later in the presentation. You can and I have to play video. It's going to be, it doesn't look that great through GoToWebinar, so you can always just check it out in the handout section if you want here. So without further ado, let's get into how to sell video walls. Jason, I'm going to pull up the presentation here.
Yep, go for it.
All right. Okay, guys, and if you can't hear us or see us, you should be seeing my screen now. If I can share my sharing, it looks like you are. Thank you so much. Okay, good. Let me get this webinar control panel out of here, even though you guys can't see it on the screen. It's right in the middle of my presentation there. So here we go. How to sell video walls. As I said, I'm from AVPro Edge. AVPro Edge is a hardware. We manufacture hardware, extenders, matrix switchers, DAs, all sorts of stuff for video distribution. I'm not going to just be pitching our video wall solutions in this presentation. We have presentations that talk about all the video wall solutions we have. Today, I want to talk to integrators about how to sell video walls, how to go into client meetings and actually sell a video wall, why you would want to do that. And that's what we're going to be I'm going to be covering. Well, we're going to have Jason here as well for some special parts of it. Without further ado, let's get right into it. What are video walls? all seen video walls in the airport. They come in all different kinds of shapes and sizes, but basically what it is it's when you have multiple displays, projectors, computer monitors set up in an array that's showing one picture. It's one way that you can have a very large screen by adding different TVs together. Now, normally you'd have the TV, if you had them all together, they would all be showing individual screens. So how do you do that? You do that with video wall technology. You could have, the standard that you would see a lot that's going to keep your same aspect ratio for the kind of content that you normally would see. It's going to be your 2x2. That is going to be where you have 2 videos on top, or 2 on the bottom, or 2 on the side, 2 on the side. A 3x3 is the same way. If we look right here at our presentation, we have a 3x3 in the corner, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So that's how you get the name 3x3 on the x-axis and the y-axis. And so now there are different types of video walls. So if we take a look at this one, we are looking at kind of a non-traditional video wall. This would be like a video wall when you wanted to, have a real standout piece, maybe something you would see at an art museum or at a big art piece at a large kind of space. Now, these are 2 different types that you see all the time. And as an integrator, when these come along, these make sense. Hey, I need a big place here for this city hall. I have a cafeteria. I have these large areas. Hey, video walls make sense. I need something more defined than the bright, LED digital signage, billboards. So what can you do? Video walls are what a lot of people do. Now, we do see micro panels coming in at the same time now. Those are those little tiny screens where you can build and mix and match. And we are going to see those, I think, very shortly, kind of breaking the same ground that we're breaking here with video walls. But at this point, they're a little too expensive. So we got to wait for that technology to catch up. But just know, as we are talking about future throughout this presentation, that is another future thing that is right on the horizon within the next 5 years for sure, which will come into play with all these video walls that we're talking about here.
Tom, I think one of the big things that people should really consider for these types of situations is the lighting environment in the room. If you're if you walk into a airport, for example, super bright, lots of windows, if you try to put a projector in there, it's not gonna cut it. So the same thing in a customer's home. If you have somebody with a beach house, or maybe they're the top floor of a penthouse type building and windows everywhere, we've seen projectors in those situations before, and they're not bright enough, they're not colorful enough, they kind of look washed out. So if you're dealing with a difficult environment lighting wise, this is a perfect solution for you.
Exactly, Jason, and you're 100% right. And that brings us right into why should you, as an integrator, sell video walls? Of course, you want to sell video walls because your customer wants a video wall. Even if they don't even know that they want a video wall, they want one. When they see a video wall, it's impactful. When they walk through the airport, they clearly can see that giant advertisement directly above them as they're going through the escalator, and it's bright as day out. Like Jason said, if there was a projector, that wouldn't see, and we will talk about that a little bit here, but it is impactful to any viewer. If you walk into any environment and you see a video wall, chances are your eyes get drawn to it no matter what. It doesn't matter who you are, what age, what your background is. People look at video walls. It's the same reason why if you have a dark room and there's like one tiny light, for whatever reason, you look at that light. When you walk into a room and there's a video wall, you look at the video wall because it's engaging, and it is super impactful. When people see a video wall, they go, wow, because it is a huge moving image on scales that we have only seen through projectors, where we had to have dark rooms. Not the case with video walls. So now, like our second bullet point here is larger screens. Doesn't matter if it's day, night, if the lights are on, if they're off. You don't have to worry about that anymore. That used to be huge part of the integrator's process of saying, hey, how do you use this room? How do you watch things in this room? What are you doing with this room? And have to tell customers some blowbacks of, hey, well, when your kids have all the lights on and they want to do this, you know, your projector, it's going to be a little bit harder to see. Well, you don't have to go through that when you install video walls in those same places. So as we know, airports and museums, now, as we can see in this picture, we're starting to look at homes. This is a picture from a customer's house. This is when somebody walked into their media room or their living room and you had a friend over and they saw this, they're going to be very wowed. They're going to be very
Blown away.
impressed with the kind of images that you can have here. Now, with this screen, you have a not going to give you the classic 16:9. So if you are watching additional content, you may have to actually watch it on these 4 screens, and then on these screens, you could start watching something else. That's the beauty of those video walls, or you could just have them off. You could put letter boxes around the sides. There's all different ways that you can do this. Or if it is a super ultra widescreen, just think if you were watching Lawrence of Arabia on a setup like this, you wouldn't even need it. It would just be a full screen actual image. So there's just lots of different things that you can do. Now, that's great, right? You have these huge screens, Jason. You have these big eye engaging things. Let's make it even better. This is where technology comes into place. We have recently, as Jason knows more than anything else, in the last, with the introduction of HDR, metadata, and Dolby Vision, the image in the image quality that we have seen is something like we've never seen in the world, right, Jason?
Absolutely. I mean, there's with really good local dimming LCDs and OLEDs, we're seeing near perfect black, if not perfect black. We're seeing gigantic color gamuts right now, and we're seeing TVs with tons and tons and tons of contrast. So, you know, just imagine how good something like, you know, Planet Earth or Our Planet or any of those really wonderful BBC documentaries. Imagine how good those look, you know, on a 55-inch TV that you're sitting 6 feet away. You know, imagine now blowing it up to, you know, maybe a 2x2 video wall with 4 55-inch screens. So it's all about that wow factor, and it's all about, you know, blowing your customer away, because guess what happens? They're going to have their friends over and they're going to say, why didn't you just do a projector? And they're going to say, watch this, and hit play. And with the lights on, with the windows open, middle on a Saturday afternoon, they're watching some BBC documentary with amazing color, amazing contrast, and those types of things. And it's just stuff that you just cannot do with a projector. And once somebody realizes, oh, I've usually seen these things in restaurants or airports, I didn't know you could do this in your house. Well, yeah, of course you can. You can build as big of a screen as you want. Tom, you mentioned before with 16:9 in the picture that you have up here. One thing that I've seen, I just wanted to point it out because maybe people haven't thought of it, but you might be able to make a 16:9 image on the 2 left screens and the 2 middle screens. Now in this picture, the 2 right screens, as you mentioned before, you could leave them off if you wanted to, or maybe you could put like your security camera on the top one and maybe a baby monitor on the bottom one, or maybe you're watching GameStop's stock price on one of them and a baby monitor on the other one, right? So, you can sort of make these a little more versatile. If you just had a projector shining onto a screen right here, you can't do any of that stuff, not without getting super creative and a little more complex. But in a system like this, if you wanted to mix and match your sources and watch some sources on one screen or watch one source on all the screens, it's as versatile as you want it to be.
Exactly, and that thing is, you might be able to do that with a multi-viewer and a projector,
Yeah.
but then you have to think that projector's 4K. In this instance, we are seeing 6 4K panels.
Right.
So the
Mm-hmm.
image quality is going to be much higher in these kind of setups. When you get to use a multi-viewer and a video wall together, then things get really interesting. We'll definitely talk about that. And now that's kind of like how, why you should sell video walls is like, because you want to have the best installs, you want to do the best installs, you want to give your customers the best, you want to offer them the best, and that's true. That is why you should sell video walls. But at the end of the day, when I'm a marketer, I'm constantly trying to figure out what the actual benefit is for this integrator, why we should bring some product to market compared to another. Well, in this, it's really clear. Everything boils down to money, right? And let's increase the overall margin of your installation. By installing video walls, we will look at hard numbers later, and we can look at how you can increase the actual margin that you're making on hardware by installing video walls. So, I mean, at the end of the day, yes, you want to be the best. Yes, you want to be give your customers the best, and yes, you want to bring this huge wow factor. But you also want your businesses to succeed. You also want to gather up all the money that's left on the table for every single installation that you're
Mhm.
doing. And that's where this comes into. So this just came out from commercial integrator. This does boil down into residential, I think even harder, right? Because we know that the residential market did not take the hit that the commercial integrator market did. But this was recently out here. So if we look, we can see, do companies expect to complete less, more, and I'm looking here at the side, you can follow my cursor here, are the same amount of projects. And we have 60% of integrators, they're going to do more. 32% are going to do about the same. So you only have a very small percentage of integrators that feel that they're going to do less jobs. That means the jobs are out there. Audio, video, distribution, audio distribution, smart home, managing your thermostat, managing your lighting. Guys, this is only getting bigger and bigger. This is clearly something that it used to be for the top end homes only did this. Now we're finding out that even that middle tier, the average middle class family wants a lot of this technology.
Mhm.
And so let's look at that specific margin. When you put in you sell a display, you get a certain amount of margin on it. When you sell a piece of hardware, you get all different types. So what's the hardware margin on most products? Most products that you sell get around 47%. So that's about half of products, or you get about an 11 to 20% margin. With processors and video well processors, that type of hardware, that is actually in a margin range in this 3.5, if not beyond this, for most manufacturers. So that means you're able to actually increase that margin percentage on every single project that you did by adding video walls to this. Now, there's a lot, we're going to talk about different types of video walls, and this, you may be saying, hey, Tom, I mean, I buy TVs all the time. The margins aren't like this, and you're right. If you put a video wall up and you used no outside processing, then yes, you're going to have very small margins. But there's new ways to use the technology that's available today that has came out recently in order to deliver these new types of video walls that where you can earn those high margin and offer video walls that are still lower cost to your customer. So you get a higher margin and it's a lower cost to the customer. It's exactly that sweet spot that integrators want to be in.
And Tom, I'm sorry, I just wanted to add this in. If you maybe could just go back one slide.
Yeah, definitely.
Think about this, guys. If you install a projector and a screen for somebody in a room, you need a projector mount. Okay, there's usually some good margin in those. You're gonna need some cabling. Okay, there's usually good margin in that. The screen itself doesn't really need much. That kind of comes with all the hardware it needs to be mounted to the wall in most cases. So where you're getting kind of killed on margin on displays and things like that, when you do a video wall, you're going to have video wall hardware, as Tom mentioned before. You're also going to have multiple mounts that are really good in margin. You'll have more cabling. The processors themselves have good margin in them. So I love this because Tom just said this and he nailed it. The cost of a really high-end projector and a screen versus doing a video wall, it might be less money for the customer, but it's more margin for you. So it's a win-win situation for everybody. And now they have the versatility of the video wall and this big impactful statement piece when you go into their room. So think about the margins on the other stuff as well, not just the hardware itself. And
Yep.
more labor too, by the way. More labor, you got to hang 9 panels versus one projector. It just works out good for everybody.
Exactly, and that's what we want. We want the market to be healthy. We want you to be healthy as a customer,
Mhm.
and so and that's what is going to make us healthy. We know that with this, hopefully what this presentation does is it just gives integrators a little bit more fodder on how to increase their margins, get a little bit more money, and then give options to their customers that they haven't used before. So still continuing to go to how to sell video walls. Now we're talking about kind of how the integrator, when he meets with his client, what are we trying to tell the client when they're or what are you trying to convey to the client during those client meetings? And I think the number one thing for all integrators, they just need to be open to video walls. I would take every integrator that's watching this, and if you do installs or you do client meetings, when's the last time you offered to do a video wall in a customer's home? Most of the time, in your mind, in the customer's mind, is, whoa, that's way too much. We don't need all of this. We don't need a full video wall. Whoa, hold on. But if you offered it and laid it out, they're spending a lot of money on a big projector. They're spending a lot of money on these other items where you may be able to offer these other options that, guess what? The other competition in your area, the integrators,
Yeah,
they're not offering
they're
video
not doing it.
walls either. You could be that person that breaks that barrier. And then I mean, the second one is just bringing it up in the client meeting, the same as the first one. I mean, you that is the number one thing. And then you just talk about how it is. It's impactful. There's a huge wow factor. This third one, Jason even kind of roasted me a little bit when we were talking about the presentation for this one, but it's bigger than your neighbors. Your screen is bigger. You have the best. As much as that sounds silly, and as much as you may think that's, narcissistic or
It,
whatever.
Tom, it's real though. I mean, of all the years I've spent in the field, and I still do work in the field to this day, I still talk to people that are like, "Yeah, I had to get my new TV because my neighbor got the 65, so I had to get the 75." So as much as we're like kind of joking and laughing about this, it is real. I mean, there is definitely a bragging right that comes with that, and of course, and then when the neighbor sees that you have a video wall, then he wants one too. So there is some sort of competition, if you will, amongst friends and neighbors and stuff. But it is a real thing for sure. I've seen it myself.
Oh, exactly. And hey, I'm not above it. I don't think of myself as a shallow person, but hey, if I have a video wall in my house, I'm going to showboat a little bit when I'm talking about it.
Well, if anything, you're going to invite the neighbors over for some video games or some football or a movie or something, and you get you everybody loves it. It's just tons of fun.
Exactly. Build human experience. So that's
Mhm.
great. And then it doesn't have to break the budget. So that's where you have to end with, because it may just stop right there. Whoa, video walls, that's going to be way
Yeah,
too
that's
expensive.
going to be 100 grand.
And they're right. I mean, 5 years ago, it would have been 100 grand to
Hmm.
put in a video wall of that caliber. But now we're talking where, hey guys, consumer panels have gotten tiny. You can find slim bezel consumer panels. You can figure out ways to put together video walls by flipping some upside down and keeping the smaller bezels together and the bigger
Hmm.
bezels at the top and bottom in a 2x2. There's a ton of different ways that you can manipulate the system. And we're going to talk about that for sure. But before we do that, I do want to just talk about one thing: is multiple sources on one video wall. That is huge for customers. If we take a look at this one right here, we have a classic 3x3 video wall. So you could watch, one screen all the way here. But what have they done? They have made it so that they're watching their main viewing right here, maybe some sports event. Then they have peripheral channels that they can have. Looks like we have even gaming going on right here. So you could have a video game right here, so you can watch what you want while your kids play video games. You're still spending the time in the family room together. Then you can have the stock market ticker, like Jason said, watching that GameStop stock increase, and then in 2 weeks from now drop, and
2
or
hours.
tomorrow. And then the news and whatever else along the side. So you can now give this to your customer in a way that you were not able to give that to your customer before. And so I want to you know, talk about that a little bit, how things have changed. And I think one of the big things that has changed is the choices and options. With different choices and options with video walls comes different budget choices and options. So now you have kind of two different ways to sell a video wall. You can use all consumer panels built for video walls with a video wall processor built in and a loop out port to go to the next one. That is
Commercial,
a,
Tom. Sorry, I think you said consumer
oh,
with the
I'm
built-in
sorry.
ones. Yeah. Okay, just making sure. Yeah.
Exactly. I apologize, guys. I totally meant commercial panels. So these have a built-in video wall system, and you have to get them from your dealer as integrators. You guys know exactly how to get these. And what happens with this is a very expensive panel. Now,
Hmm.
if you have a customer that's ready to pay these prices, you don't mind at all because you love getting a large payday, is just like any integrator. But there's a different way to do it now, and that's using all consumer panels that have no HDMI loop outs, that have no internal video wall processing capabilities at all. They were not built to be on and be left on for a billion years like a commercial panel, but they work really good. We all use them. I have them in
Hmm.
my home. Jason has them in his home. All of you guys watching have them in your home, and those are consumer panels. And now with an external video wall processor, you can use those consumer panels, which are much, much less expensive. You can get a very, very nice consumer panel for $1,000 or $2,000. You can get a marginal consumer panel for, $800, $700. You can get a crappy one for 200 that will still make a really cool video wall. And so now you have different options. So when you go into those client meetings, it's on you to be prepared. Say, hey, maybe I have a best, a good, better, best type of situation on video wall. So, hey, do you want a video wall? Oh, I think that'd be too much. Actually, the prices isn't too much. Here's it's a major wow factor, and you get all of these really cool benefits from it. Customer says, well, yeah, but how much? Well, we have different options. Boom, boom, boom. And you can kind of start laying those out, mapping together the panels that you prefer to use, and that you normally work with. Then you can help your customer. You're helping them create something for their home beyond what they originally imagined. When you start offering a video wall in a high-end luxury home, you have one, two, three video walls in the same home. You start going beyond what they even thought was possible when they took the meeting with you. And the future is now. That brings it to the next one. The future is now. If we know anything about technology, if we know anything about business, we know the people that stay where they are, they don't adapt, they don't go to the new thing, they don't try the next thing, they end up failing. It's the people that are always pushing, trying to be the best, offer your customer something that isn't out there from other places. And that's what you're doing by even watching this. If I have you're watching it and you're this far into it, you are that integrator. You are that integrator that is going to stay around, that is going to continue to make jobs, is going to be able to come out the other side of a pandemic doing more jobs than they were the year before. And that's what we have here. So now I want to just break down external processing and internal processing. Those are those two types of video walls you can do. And so this, this is external processing. This is internal processing. I'm going to break this one down for you first. So how it works with this is you have a source, a signal input. So this could be digital signage. This could be a Blu-ray player. This could be, probably connected to some sort of matrix or distribution, video distribution system. And it goes into the first panel. And we have a really huge video wall right here. And then what you do is you daisy chain, in this case, using DisplayPort from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 to 7 to 8 to 9, all the way through. Now, this is really a great way to do a video wall. They all talk to each other, but unfortunately, each one of these panels is very, very expensive. Um, they are built with video walls. They have those video wall capabilities. Now, if you have a customer that says yes to this video wall, you do not argue the next point.
Please
You
do it.
just do it. This is the video wall you want to install. But if you have someone who says, "Whoa, that's way out of my budget, $110,000." No, I mean, come on, man. This is one room. Then you have another option here. Now, there are some downsides of this way, doing video walls this way. 4K, you have to have multiple things or multiple displays together to do 4K. This is 1080p. You only get really a 4K when you do this whole image. So your pixel count is going to be pretty low here. Another one is if you have very fast moving images, very fast action, you're going to see a lag where the panels change going from this one to this one to this one to this one to this one. Maybe it takes even a quarter of a second for them all to map over. But if you did a black to white test pattern, you would be actually able to see like it snake all the way through. Now that can be a problem if you have depending on what kind of content you're showing. Now, an external processing, this is different. So this is an external processor that we have. There's other ones out there. We're just saying for this lesson, we're just showing you the two variations of technologies. So we have a 3x3 video wall. You have, 1, 2, 3 by 1, 2, 3. These could all be, the least expensive TV that you've ever worked with. They could be a $2,000, $5,000 OLED. They could be, each one of these could be an 88-inch, Sony. But whatever you are using, it doesn't matter. It can be any grade panel that has an HDMI input. Now, Jason is going to talk a little bit later about some variations. I mean, I wouldn't say just anything. You are going to want to check a few things when it comes to the panel. But for the most part, you're going to be able to use basically any. And how this works is normally, right, you would send your signal into the TV and you see the picture. So if I want to break it up over this picture, what I can actually do is I send my source, so this could be my Blu-ray player, my signage, into this processor. And this is an external processor. Then we connect our 9 panels to this external processor, and this processor actually does the processing for it. So it makes all of these, TVs that were not built for a video wall, who don't have the same level of technology, but with a much smaller cost, you can now add this video wall processor for definitely less than any one of the big commercial panels, and you would be able to get high margin on this, and you get some big advantages because each one of these TVs, they get this signal at the exact same time, so you don't have to worry about that snaking process when you switch for fast action. The second one is there's scaling built into this processor, so you can send a 4K signal to each one of these individual TVs. So now with this, I could have, let's say that if we did a 3x3 in this variation, you have, 3x3, we'll talk about just this one so we can compare. You're going to have the displays, the mounts, and then the cabling. That's what you would have to pay for, and that's totally with $5,000 to $6,000 TVs. This is going to be a very expensive endeavor. 9 times, you're looking at 55, probably around $65,000 to $70,000. Now, with external processing, even if you got very nice panels that were $1,000 each, you have $9,000. You have for your panels. Then you have probably another $5,000 or $2,000 for your mounts, and then almost less than $1,000, $2,000 for your processor. You're giving the exact same experience for a literal fraction of the cost. And this is how you can become the integrator that does things differently, that gives your customer more by showing them that, yes, hey, we have this video wall option. They say yes, you never bring this up. They don't say yes, you bring this up and say, no, we can still give that to you. There's lots of options out there for us to deliver this same impactful experience for a much less cost. So then, where do these fit? Where are we going to find these? We're talking about, airports, large gathering areas. These are going to, of course, video walls go there. You should already be selling video walls in those spaces if you are getting those jobs. You also, if you're getting those jobs and you're still saying no if they can't do the commercial panel, this new way this newer way of doing video wall, the external processing, can still fit for all of these retail, airports, large gathering areas. But it is essential that our people that are installing luxury residential installations start to use this process. And are the areas of those large luxury homes that you can sell into. The multi-viewer mixed with a video wall for multiple sources on one screen. You know, you can, that's what we showed with that picture earlier in that living room. Some really good ways to sell that is people watching video game playthroughs while they're playing video games. If you have children, if you have a gamer in your family, you will know many people will have the IGN walkthrough, the YouTube playthrough going on a laptop or on their phone near them so that they can figure out how to get through the game that they're playing through. It's very extremely common, seems crazy to a lot of us older retro gamers, but that is how it's happening right now. You can do that. You can sell this thing to your customers by offering this option. And then for our sports guys, I mean, it's football season right now, but watching 9 football games on one screen, and then being able to, when it gets to the red zone, boom, hit that button on your control system, and then maps out so you can see that one screen throughout that huge video wall. It's pretty sweet. The other place is a man cave. You know, every man who is always trying to get away from his family, he builds this big family up, and then he's like, well, can I get away a little bit? And they have to have that man cave. You know, that's usually the home theater, that's that basement, that's a garage. Well, now be Batman. You know, you can be Batman, have your own video wall with your security showing on it and all those different things. It's not out of reach like it was at one time. And then our media's in living rooms. And that's kind of the pictures that we talked about throughout this presentation, just your open media and living rooms that everybody's gathering in. You want to have these things on. It's nice to have all this information and multiple types of information at where you can find them at one place.
Tom, think about how fun it is to show your friends and family like pictures from a vacation or videos from a vacation. And, scenario number 1 is, 7 people are crowded around and you're trying to watch it on your phone, right? Scenario number 2, everyone's crowded around your laptop. Scenario number 3, maybe you can shoot it up to your 55-inch TV and it all looks cool and it all looks good. But imagine watching your child's first birthday party from 10 years ago on a, 150-inch, 3x3 video wall, and just reliving some of those memories and vacations and that kind of thing. That to me is kind of part of it too. It's not just about watching sports and playing video games, but this is also a great way to relive some memories. Personally, for me, I have a ton of old videos from when I was a little kid with my grandfather and stuff, and I would love to see that stuff almost life size and hear those voices again. So, think about like the overall experience of how you can spend time with your family and your friends, and it's all part of it.
Exactly. And these the phones we're using today, Jason, are taking the type of images that are seen best at
Oh,
sizes that large. They're
yeah.
it's only increased.
There's pictures I have on my phone, even going back 3, 4, 5 phones ago, and even those older pictures still look awesome today. So yeah, you're exactly right. The smartphone cameras are getting even better. Little things like GoPros take really good video these days. So yeah, just imagine watching yourself scuba dive on a 3x3 video wall from your Hawaii trip you took last year. It's cool stuff. Who wouldn't want to do that?
It truly is. It truly is. And that's why we want to have you bring that experience. So now, we talked about how to sell video walls. We do want to just cover our nuts and bolts. We don't want you to go into a project and then think that you don't, you're left in the dark from some different surprises that would pop up with installing a video wall if it is your first time. So as you guys know, Jason is here. He's our display expert. He's going to give us this Meridio perspective on, what to watch for when
Yeah.
selling and installing video walls, from his specialist perspective of this calibration and color correction type of background.
Part of building or helping somebody build an impactful video system is a lot more than just, hey, I want these TVs, I want them on that wall, and I want it to do this. There's a lot more that goes into it, and the big thing that we talk about a lot in building, especially a high performance video system, is room lighting. So, there's still going to be some things that you're going to have to consider when picking out panels with your customer. If it is a basement man cave type situation, maybe you can get away with doing 4 OLEDs. That's awesome. But maybe it's a beach house type situation, and you might want to do 4 LED LCDs with really good local dimming, so it's good at night and good during the day. So try to still keep those things in your practice and in your verbiage and in your culture that you're still trying to match the panel or the display in this case to the room that it's in based on the customer's viewing distance and those types of things as well. So number one, we're still going to concentrate on putting the right type of display in the room. Tom, let's go ahead and go next on the slide there. One thing that we have to talk about when setting up these video walls is something that you might not necessarily see in a commercial panel or even a computer monitor, but stuff that we see on consumer TVs all the time, and it's been like this for a very, very long time. And that's we'll call it a feature called overscan. I've got a cool picture here of what overscan is and why it's bad. So Tom, I'm going to steal the presentation from you.
Yep, please do. Whoops.
And I'm going to share my screen with you guys. And Tom, can you see my screen right now?
Yeah, we sure can. It looks like you're pulling up a football picture right now.
Perfect. So here's what overscan is, why it exists, and why you want to kill it with fire. We're looking at an NFL football game. I think this was on CBS many years ago. It's an old one at this point, but the example is still good. If you notice at the very, very top of the image here, this is a live broadcast, and there's nothing you can do about this. So this is why overscan exists. Live broadcast, we've got a black and white, weird, speckly line across the top of the image. Tom, can you see that pretty easily?
Yeah, I can see it. I can see it really well. Those little dots, lines.
Yeah, and if you're watching a football game and you see that, you're gonna notice it, right? So if you look at the entire frame of the image, you've got this black and white speckly line at the top, which is kind of weird. And then inside of this image, you have a red rectangle. So what a consumer TV will do, and they all come like this out of the box, they'll actually frame the image within this red rectangle that you're seeing on the screen right now. And why they do that is, if you're a consumer and you buy a TV, you bring it home, you fire up a football game, and there's a black and white dotted line across the top of the screen, you think the TV's bad, so you return it, right?
Yeah.
So the manufacturers put in like a fail-safe, and that's overscan. So they zoom in on the picture 2%, 3%, 5% to get rid of any junk that might be around the edges, right? So now picture you're trying to install a video wall and you have this overscan thing turned on and you're trying to compensate for your bezels. You're measuring your bezels down to the millimeter. And maybe overscan is turned on one TV and turned off on another TV, and you just cannot get things to line up. And it's super frustrating. You think you're doing something wrong. You're measuring the bezels 300 times to make sure you're getting them right. And it turns out that the overscan's turned on 1, 2, 3, or all of the displays. So you do have to dig into the menu. You do have to find maybe some aspect ratio submenus or maybe a picture size submenu. And you do want to make sure that your bit mapping is completely lined up perfect. That will help you with your bezel compensation when you go to do that later. So number one, we want to make sure the overscan is turned off. That will help you get the panels aligned and the images aligned much better. Number two, we have to make sure that the panels match in 2 other different ways. We have to make sure the panels all match in luminance. So if I'm looking at this 2x2 video wall, the top left TV isn't way dimmer than the other 3. It's super distracting. You see it from a mile away and you can't stop looking at it once you notice it. So we don't want any of the displays to be brighter or darker than the others. We want them all to match in luminance. And that's super easy with a little bit of software and a light meter. The other thing that we want to make sure of too is that they match in color. And it's funny because I just was talking about this on one of the Meridio webinars, but this was a picture that I took in an airport 2 years ago when we were still traveling. And what you'll notice is when you look at this picture, and guys, the picture does this no justice. In real life, it was way worse. But if you notice across the top 3 screens, and even down to the on the right column, those 3 screens, the middle screen in the dead center, the middle screen on the bottom row, they all look to be about the same shade of white in the background. And Tom, can you see that with your, just even through a camera, through a webinar, you can still see it, right? So imagine what this looked like in real life. So we want to make sure that all of the panels match in color. So if the panels all match in luminance and they're all as bright as each other and they're all the same color, now the video wall looks like one nice, big, gigantic, uniform piece. And that's really what we're going for. You would never look at a display and like a flat panel display and the bottom quadrant is brighter than the rest of it, that's silly, right? So why do it in a video wall? So it's not hard to do. It's not anything that you have to go crazy on. It's not even something that takes a ton of time. You'll want to use a light meter and some software, and measure each panel and get them start to match them from there. There's a couple of best practices that I like to sort of stick with. You might have some cases, like I'll give you a good example. The webinar we did on video walls a week or two ago with Meridio, I took 2 Sony consumer TVs, and these were like mid to above mid-level. I think they were like $900 or something like that. I take them out of the box. They're bought from the same store, same time. I take them out of the box, same day, put them up next to each other, fire them up. They're both in the same picture mode, and I'm looking at the 2 of them, and I'm going, that one's brighter and that one's bluer, right? So you can't just assume that because they're all the same make and model and all that other stuff that they're just going to magically match out of the box. You might have some instances where one panel, you put it in home mode, when it first fires up and you're setting it up for the first time, and the next panel you accidentally put that in store mode, so that one's real bright and vivid, the other one looks normal. So getting them to all match is super important, but there's really 3 things to think about. The overscan, we want to eliminate the overscan. We want all the panels to match in luminance, and we want the panels to all match in color. If you can nail those 3 things, then this is going to be a uniform picture. It's not going to be distracting. Everything's going to look the same, and everything's going to look accurate too. You'll see shadows where you're supposed to see shadows in movies, and if you are a big sports fan, your jerseys are the right color and all those other things that come with it. But just wanted to show you a couple of examples. I don't know if this will really show up well, but I did take a kind of a closer, oops, that's the same picture. I did take kind of a closer look at that same video wall, and you can see that it's not even close, right? So we definitely want to make sure we nail those 3 things. Tom, I'm going to turn off my screen because that's the only thing I had to show you.
Perfect. I'll grab it back here.
Yeah, and if you bring up the PowerPoint, I think I had one more slide, I think. Let's take a peek.
Yeah, we'll take a look here. We're just talking about, so here
Oh,
is
there you go, right there.
that was just an example of our scan. Jason already touched the color matching. That's just another really, really bad panel.
Yeah, that's a really good example of bad.
Yeah. And then the other thing, Jason, is if you had any mounting tips and tricks for our customers.
Yeah, if you've mounted 10 TVs, you've mounted all of them. There's only so many types of wall material, there's only so many sizes of screens, and there's only so many types of mounts. Where it gets really interesting with video walls, and I've seen it both ways. I've seen people before, go online and they find $20 mounts, they buy 6 of them, and they try to line up the TVs like that. And it is an absolute nightmare, because if you don't get all of them perfect, then you're going to have lots of problems with getting them lined up correctly. That's obviously the least expensive way to do it, but also the biggest pain in the butt. The best way to do it is to use mounts that are made for video walls. And in most cases, they'll be so simple in a measurement type of way. So for example, you have to line up the top row, maybe that's one big giant mount for both the top TVs, and you have another video wall mount below that. And as long as you get those 2 mounts lined up, then you're literally just putting the TVs up, adjusting the tilt, and just doing any final little checks like that. The other thing I also noticed too with video wall mounts, and you can kind of see this in Tom's screen right now on the left example, but think about having to service a panel. If you're looking at the upper middle panel in a 3x3 video wall, and you have to take that panel down for some reason, or maybe the HDMI cable is loose, or maybe the TV needs to be repaired. If you are trying to take that one TV off of one $19 mount without screwing up the rest of them or banging into one of the other ones, it's going to be a big pain in the butt for you. So if you look at that example on the left side of the screen, the mount actually comes out a few inches, or maybe 12 inches even in some cases, and now it's 1,000 times easier to get behind there with your hands, or to take the panel off the wall to do a repair on it. So for servicing purposes of the panels themselves, for installation purposes of the panels themselves, don't cheap out on your mounts. Look around. There are some great manufacturers out there that do make some really good video wall mounts. If you guys don't carry those, or maybe your distributor that you work with doesn't have those, feel free to reach out to Tom or myself. We can definitely help you get partnered up with folks that do carry these types of mounts as well. But don't cheap out on the mounts, guys. Get proper mounts, and you'll thank me in the long run. it's a lot easier to deal with these things if the mounts are good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, every single one of our reps and distributors also sell mounts. No mount people can get mounts. So if you do have a question, I mean, just ask the one of our reps.
Yeah,
We're,
sure.
you know, all of our distributors also sell mounts. If they're selling AVPro Edge, they're a trusted partner. So you can definitely trust them on their mount experience as well.
Totally.
And I think it is just always best to just, if you guys probably know more about mounting and have mounted more than me or Jason. Even Jason was an installer, he's a calibrator. You guys are out there every single day mounting things. So you know your favorite mounts, you know what works, what doesn't work. With video walls, it's the same type of thing. If you know it works, use it. If you know that you like it, use that. If you know you like this brand of TVs, use it. You can still do those things and figure out ways and have like a successful installation of your video wall. So excellent, guys. So, you know, that's how to sell video walls. That is exactly the presentation that we wanted to give for you today. The rest of the presentation, I'm just going to be talking about AVPro Edges and Fresco's solutions for video walls, how you can use our processors and get that large margin on the hardware when you do use AVPro Edge. And so what we do is we have our Fresco series, is what we have for our video walls. That's going to handle all our processors. We also have a Cloud9. We also have MXNet. We also are working on video walls directly into our matrix switcher. So video walls are a big part of AVPro Edge. One of the things that we do is we work with integrators like all of you guys, and a lot of you guys install Control4, especially into homes. Well, recently we have a Control4 installer who used AVPro Edge's products for his video wall, and I just wanted to show you this video of exactly how it looks and how it works, and how a control system tied into a multi-viewer and a video wall can really, how impactful and how easy it can be for a customer to use once it's installed. So let's look right here. So first, just off the bat, you can see this is a Control4 interface. We are not, I'm not from Control4. Jason's not from Control4. We got this from an integrator who has used AVPro Edge products and uses Control4 as their control system. If you don't use Control4, no problem. You can use any other ones, but Control4 does make a great product. So let's take a look right here. You can see you can tap in, control the lighting, comfort, security, or you have this video wall. So let's take a look here and see what this integrator does. So as you can see, he taps the video wall, brings up this living room 2x2 matrix. So he has a 2x2 matrix right here. So he can watch 4 different things, or boom, with the tip of a button, now he can watch it as a video wall instead of watching 4 different things. Now he has a separate video wall in his home. And I'm going to pause it right here, or we'll let him load up everything. But you can see this is in the home cinema. He has it labeled. This is a 3x3. And now he has different things. He can touch this screen right here and it'll show 9 different screens. He can touch this button right here and it'll show one image over the entire thing. Or he has these different, this one right here, and then he has these different layouts that he's capable of doing. So then he can throw up his different sources in any of these layouts they want, making it really, really easy for any consumer that would use this product. It's just a really cool way of how integrators today are using technology to make the best of what's around them. What we have here is our video wall processor. This is going to be a Cat4. So this is just for your run and gun in 2x2 video walls. It's plug and play. You plug in your sources, or you plug in your one source to this device. This device automatically maps it for you. If you have larger bezels that you need to compensate for, no problem. You can actually go into the software and do that. We have a Cat9. It works exactly the same. What stands this one apart, and this is the one that I think our residential installers should be installing, is, as you can see, Dolby Vision.
Yeah.
So we have Dolby Vision, guys. It's just an HDR flavor. So we have figured out Dolby Vision. That means we can also do HDR, HDR10, HDR10 Plus from Samsung, HLG for broadcast. our video wall processing is able to do all that. You do have to get the Cat 9. The Cat 4 is not going to have that same processing. And then these also do have those scalers, so you can make sure that you're sending a 4K signal on every single display in your setup, making sure that you're using the most out of those panels.
And Tom, what if somebody wanted Dolby Vision and HDR and all that good stuff, but they only have a 2x2 and this is a 3x3? Can they still use this on a 2x2?
No, they can't, Jason. I guess you just can't do your installation. Just kidding, of course not. He's setting me up, folks. This is definitely configurable up to 9 panels. So it could be 2x2, it could be 3x3, it could be something in between. You can make it however you want. So that's a great question, Jason. Thank you.
What if I wanted to go more than 9 panels?
Oh, no, once again, can't do it. Just kidding, guys. You can cascade these together. So you can just add more additional units, Jason, and then you'd be able to program it and make sure that it has an HDMI loop out, so then you can cascade into the next box.
So when are we going to do a 9x9 video wall at your house?
Coming up really shortly. I think there's a raise on my
Yeah, I think you're
just kidding, guys. But hey, with the way the video walls are, I'm not going to be able to afford the 9 panel, but I could probably do the 2x2.
Yeah.
So who knows,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
All right, and then we have other ways. We have a 16 panel DA, and this is for if you're using those consumer panels, but you want to make sure that you don't have that snaking feature of having the loop outs do it all. You could just use a DA, and then you can make sure that each panel gets the same signal at the exact same time, and the internal processing will still make sure that it makes sure it's playing the correct part of the video wall. And then we have our video flux. This is our multi-viewer. So this is where you could tie this in with a 2x2, and then now you're able to start mixing and matching. So this with the Cat 4 is a real deadly combination. We have a whole video on that to check out. And our cabling, guys, our cabling is always going to be available for you. We're now doing 48 gigabit per second cabling. So you have infrastructure that is ready for the future. We manufacture it ourselves. We test it ourselves. Jason works for a testing company that this is specifically what he does.
All we do. Test.
Yeah, our bullet train cables are certified by Meridio, so you definitely are getting a really great piece when you're using our cables. And since it's a 48 gig cable, you're ready for HDMI 2.1. Installing these is going to allow you to remain relevant for a really long time. And the active optical cables even have a piece of fiber in it, so you can use it later. And guys, that's it. So do we have any questions in the questions box, Jason? Looks like we're running in.
Guys, feel free. We've got a few minutes. If you do have any kind of final questions, go ahead and don't be shy. Let them rip. One question did come in from Michael Forbes. He says, what is a suggestion for the audio best practice?
Great question.
Yeah, so great, a really good question. Just off the top of my head, actually, Tom, why don't you pull up one of the examples in one of the living rooms or something from one of the slides? Yeah, maybe like that one right there. So if we're looking at that system right there, you can get really creative with the audio routing. So if I were sitting in this room watching this display, I would probably want the audio from those bottom 4 displays to be playing through the audio system. But I might also want to check out what the guy in the upper left is saying about the football game. So I might want to switch over to that audio, really easily. So when you start incorporating the control systems and the touch panels and the iPads and those types of remotes, how cool would it be if you just picked up the remote and pushed one button because you want the audio from the video game? Once you're done with the video game, you push another button, now you get audio from the news. You're done with that, you push another button, now you're getting audio from the ESPN screen in the upper left. So, you can kind of mix and match it however you want. I think what it's really going to come down to is what you and the client sort of sit down and figure out. You might have a client that says, I'll never want to listen to ESPN, I just want to watch it all the time. Okay, that's okay. So now you know how to configure the system. But in my eyes, if I'm the end user, I'd probably be more inclined to get the audio from the biggest picture on the screen, but I also want to be able to choose other audio from other sources if I want to. So don't lock the customer into just listening to audio from one source. I would do it in such a way that they have the option to listen to audio from any source at any time, whenever they want to.
Yeah, I think you're
Yeah, do
exactly
you have
right.
anything to add to that, Tom? I don't know. Sounds good, right?
No, I think you're exactly right there. I mean, I would, and how your best practices for doing that, if you're doing a video wall with a multi-viewer setup, is you're gonna want a audio matrix in your system,
Yeah, definitely.
or some sort of product that does audio matrixing so that you can build that directly into your control system, and you would be able to pick your audio and and that same control system we just looked at, you would then be able to choose, just like you did your sources, which
Hmm.
audio you would be hearing in that zone. Now,
Yep.
for that customer, they just chose whatever the main picture was the source that was chosen. For a lot of our, if you're just doing it without a multi-viewer, so that like, how am I going to get audio? Does it come out of the panel? Does it come out of, where does it come out of? Your best bet then is going to just use a de-embedded audio system, so that you can, like, for if you're going to use external processing here, you would have this close enough to where your stuff is that you can go directly into an AVR. So whatever is coming out of your source, now you have that coming directly out into your AVR, and it could be in the speakers that are around this system. Um, those are all different ways. Now, if this is just a media room, maybe this is just a different room. You could use the on-screen volume, but it would just get so messy that it would
Hmm.
just nothing I would ever suggest an
Yeah,
integrator do.
I wouldn't do it either.
Get that audio de-embedded out of there, and route it through some professional audio routing.
And
Yeah,
Tom, that's the only question so far. Again, guys, if you do have any final last minute questions, go ahead and type them in. But Mike, I hope that answers your question. If you have any follow-ups to that, feel free to type away and let us know if you want some follow-up. But Tom, that's all I've got in the question box.
well, excellent, guys. So I want to thank everybody for coming to the training today. We hit it where we made it only 2 minutes over, and me and Jason like to talk, so that's a good accomplishment. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
And actually, there was one more that just rolled in, Tom. One more question from Cody. He says, thoughts on the Samsung wall? You and I have both seen this with our eyes.
Yes.
Um, very awesome,
Yeah, it's
very
amazing.
pricey for now.
I touched on it at the beginning, right,
Hmm.
Cody? Because that's that micro LED, and we've seen the Samsung, we've seen the Sony. We know that these guys are putting out extremely impactful
Hmm.
uh, ways. Now, the Sony's only doing the professional. Samsung is already doing the wall now, right? So you
Yes.
can get it right into your house. I do. My thoughts on it is it's so cool. It's amazing. I love it. Let's get this into the house. The
Hmm.
only downside of it, Cody, is that it costs as much as a McLaren. So,
Yeah, it's a lot.
maybe not a McLaren, but I'm just saying it's a very, very, it's going to be for your super high end clients. And where I do think, if we know anything, how much was a flat screen TV when they first came out? They're very expensive.
I remember them at 40 grand, Pioneer Elite Plasma in like 2000, 2001, somewhere right around there. They were $40,000.
$40,000, and now you can go to like Craig's Facebook Marketplace and get one for free. So,
Yeah, come pick this up. Yeah.
so I'm just saying it's a world of different. We're going to see as that technology increases and they build more and more and become better and better, and we see more competition into the market.
Yeah,
Those
it's
prices are
coming.
going to be worth it. And I would say, like, if we are having this same conversation in 5 years, I think we will be talking
Yeah.
about those going in. I mean, I have to assume movie theaters are already starting to think about replacing some of the projectors for these micro LED systems, and
There's
because it's so
there's
amazing, the picture is
there's
amazing.
there's one in China right now. I believe it's Samsung, and I want to say it's 70 feet wide or something like that. So you're watching that big of a screen with perfect blacks and good contrast and wide color and at 1,000 nits. I mean, what? I mean,
Yeah,
it's
I
crazy.
mean, you watch too long of a movie, you'll come out with a sunburn after
Yeah,
that one.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, Cody, thanks for the question. That's all the questions for today.
All right. Thanks,
Cool.
guys. Thanks Jason, for joining, and we'll see you guys on the next webinar. Make sure that you're signing up for the Meridio newsletter, seeing where those webinars are. You guys are getting the AV Pro Edge one since you're seeing this. Thank you guys for checking that out. Make sure that you follow us on all the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We try to be as active as possible, sharing some pretty cool stuff. And thanks again, guys. We'll try to keep it interesting.
See you, Tom. Thanks, guys.
Yep. See you, Jason.